What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome. It is Friday night. It is finally Friday. It is 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you are at your place for the Unfiltered experience with myself, Christopher Rausch, and
Scott David Goyette.
Scott David Goyette. Welcome everybody to the show, whether you're live or on the replay. We appreciate you being here every single Friday night, 5 p.m. We are here consistently, always bringing you the unfiltered conversations, whether it's just with Scott and myself or if it's with a guest, which we have tonight, which we're excited about. So yes, whether you're on the replay or on the live, please ask us questions, engage with us. And of course, as always, go to the unfilteredexperience.com for all the latest updates and join our Facebook group. So what's going on, Mr. Scott? How are you doing?
Chris, I'm going for the extra spooky look tonight. I'm very focused with the Halloween season. My daughter's going off to some party, and so the reality is the light above me is broken, and I'm going to pretend that I'm going for the extra spooky look tonight. So I got the dark shadows. If you see the spooky look?
Ooh, I see the spooky look.
Do you remember what we did last year at this time? Do you remember that I was Marky Rausch?
Oh, I was just telling somebody about that. About how you dressed up like me to be my long lost brother. That was awesome.
That was so much fun.
We have to replay that. We actually talked about doing more stuff like that. So in 2022, we definitely got to bring some characters to the role playing game here on the Unfiltered experience. So yeah, no, that was a blast. I was telling somebody just recently, I'm like, oh yeah, you got to check out Scott when he dressed up as, and I couldn't remember. I was like, I think it was Marky Rausch. And I said, he did a great job. He's like, what? And I told him the whole situation.
Marky
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
Dude, that was
with a Boston accent. That was the thing that bothered me the most was you accentuated your Boston accent. I was like, oh fuck, really? My brother's from Boston? I can't stand that accent. I'm just sorry. I love you, but yeah, the accent just gotta go. What's up? Look at, we already got people in the house. Our Unfiltered crew is in the house. Randy Chaffee, Studs. I was on Randy's show earlier today. We had a great time in conversation. So Randy, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you, brother.
He's a sales stud. He
is a sales stud. He actually nails salespeople to the studs.
I like it.
No, he doesn't. Glenda's in the house. She says, hey, y'all. Megan Watson from San Diego. What's up, Megan? Good to see you here. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We appreciate you. Glenda says, I took my CPS test today. Awesome. What does CPS stand for? Just for the rest of us out here in the world that I can't think about. Child Protective Services, I'm thinking. Jacqueline Rose is in the house. She says, hello, Christopher, Scott, and Damion. So thank you so much, Jacqueline, for being in the house. Our Irish queen. We got Larry Snyder in the house. Kick-ass Larry, Mr. Kangen Water, ladies and gentlemen, go check it out. It will save your life. Larry's in the house. And Megan saying, blah, 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 Boston, Mass.
Massachusetts with Marky Rausch. Yeah.
What's funny is I could tell you this. One of my wife's good friends, she doesn't watch the show. Julie is from Boston. And when I hear her on the phone, my back cringes. She is like traditional, total, oh my God, Bob, you should hear it. And I'm just like, stop, make it stop. Take it off speakerphone. No. We don't want to hear that. I actually did not date a girl because she had a Boston accent. I couldn't stand it. Has there been any nationalities that you never dated because you couldn't stand their accent?
Trying to think if somebody's like really annoying as far as. Well, I will say this. I did. Okay, I'll leave it at this. I met a girl on spring break from Alabama. She was the most beautiful girl I've ever met, and her drawl and her. I'm trying to say this as nice as possible. Lack of intellect. I literally, she was so good looking, and I'm like, I can't take this anymore. We didn't have the internet, so she'd write me letters, and I'm like I'm the old school grammar Nazi. I was like, is this even in English? I literally was like, I can't do this. I just can't do this. And so, yeah, it might be Alabama for me. And I like Alabama. I love you people. I'm sorry. I just couldn't take it.
Hey, it happens. I'm sure people sit there and say, I can't stand a guy from California. Oh my God. What's up, dude? Hey, man, it's fucking rocking. Awesome, dude.
Totally ridiculous. So maybe the Alabama people don't like Boston. Like, I can accept that. Like,
okay,
we just gotta work on ourselves.
The world keeps going round and round and round. Glenda comes back here and says, certified peer specialist. Well, congratulations, Glenda. I know you've been on a journey for the last couple of years. You've been a part of the shows. So congratulations to you. We love to see that. And Megan says here, so wasn't speaking your language.
Yeah, it's my problem. I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't like the way they're speaking, it's your problem. It's not their problem. So I need to learn to love people from Alabama. I need to learn to not be a grammar Nazi and just accept people as they are. And the 50-year-old Scott says we're cool. The 18-year-old Scott said we're not cool. So that's evolution. I've evolved. I love people from Alabama. Good now. I'm all good now.
I love it. I love it. I spoke I spoke at a conference in Alabama, and I flew into Florida, drove down to Alabama, and I went to, I said, well, let me help you guys out the night before. They invited me to this party. It was crazy. I know nobody from that party is watching, but the lady that organized it, and I know she's not watching it, but I don't care either way. I went into her room. Her room was adjacent to the suite where we were doing the party the night before. And I walked in there, and I swear to God, she goes, "You want to do a bump with me?" And I'm like, was it fucking 1984 again? I'm like, what did you say? She goes, "Do you want to do a bump with me?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'll just sip my drink." And I walked back out of that room, and I never went back in that room again. I was like, "Whoa, you guys in Alabama like to party."
Man, I'm too old for that. I go to bed by 8, Chris. You know, this is this show. The second we get off of this, I literally have a bed right here. I roll off of my chair and I go to sleep. I can't be out doing bumps. Doesn't work anymore.
I know this is not true. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have a fantastic show set up for you tonight. We titled it Mastering, what do we call it tonight? Managing Your Inner Critic with Damion Caldwell, Coach DC. Oh, yeah. I've had the pleasure of talking with Coach many, many times on Clubhouse. Met some phenomenal people on Clubhouse. Coach shows up usually every week to our men's weekly sessions, and man, he is just a powerhouse of experience. He's had a journey and then some, but just the way he speaks and the intellect that he imparts upon people, you can't help but take advantage of that intellect and those actions and be able to put them into play right now. So we highly recommend that you're taking down some notes. Take something from this conversation that you can walk away with, that you can implement in your life. Please. Scott and I don't come here just to hear ourselves talk and see beautiful banners and all other stuff that I have to replace. We come here because we want you to walk away from this conversation being enlightened and being inspired to be able to think about your past, present, and your future differently, so that you can actually just be excited about where it is that you're at in the journey and realize that there's compound interest going on, that everything that we do builds upon itself, and that you can actually really change the trajectory of your life in as little as 6 months. I mean, it truly is the case. So without any further ado, I'm going to invite Coach DC to the Unfiltered Experience. Coach, what's going on tonight, brother? Happy Friday night. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing? I was actually reading Meg Watson's comment. That was an Alabama slammer.
I was trying not to laugh either.
The Alabama slammer. What's up, Megan?
It's almost like she knew the story.
Well, she knows you. She's like, "Welcome, Coach DC." We got Robert in the house. Robert in the house says a bump, by the way. I'm curious and missed that front part of the story. Well, you have to go back and listen to that again. And that's something I just want to say for everybody who's watching the show. Scott and I have been talking on the back channel. We just want to make sure that we're bringing the most effective interviews and conversations for you. So be here as soon as you can at 5 o'clock, because we want to get the show started off more quickly, because we realize sometimes we kind of blah, blah, blah. And then we get to the end of the show and we're trying to cut it off. So we want to jump in deep, first of all, just to make sure you guys get value for your time here. We realize that Friday nights are a special time. So we appreciate each and every one of you being here with us live or on the replay. So with that, Coach, welcome to the Unfiltered Experience. How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Looking forward to this. This is probably the second or third time I've ever been interviewed, so it's pretty fun.
Awesome. Well, this is not an interview. I just got to tell you this right now. We didn't get to have a chance to have the pre-show chat, but this is just me, you, and Scott sitting at a bar or coffee shop, just literally having a conversation between the three of us. And then the people that are on the sidebar, there are friends that are sitting in the chairs around us, and they're like going, "Hey, what's going on? Hey, can I ask you a question?" So this is just a conversation between the three of us. The time's going to go by like that. So in thinking about how I titled the show, Managing Your Inner Critic, and thinking about what's been going on in the world for the last 18 months to 2 years, when we think about COVID and the assassination and all just the different things that have been going on in the world, what is your thought about being able to understand what the inner critic is and where it comes from?
It's interesting because we all have an inner voice, and if we're honest, we listen to this inner voice, and sometimes it's bringing us down, and sometimes it's bringing us up. Well, at one time I realized that we are in control of this inner voice. I was a troubled kid, and I got in a police chase from Georgia through Florida, and somehow escaped it alive. And I guess you would call it a come to Jesus moment. And right there, I looked at myself and I was like, okay, so how the hell did you get here? And I'm like, who the fuck are you asking? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're in the right place.
That
you're
was
good.
right.
You're totally good.
Okay.
There's no
Stay
filters
right
here.
there.
But that was a really a point when I was 13 and 14 years old, and I really started looking at myself like, yo, you were the one putting all of this in motion. When are you going to decide to change the lanes? Because right now, this lane is going to get you nowhere but dead. And after I had that conversation with myself, I kind of calmed down a little bit because it was not looking good. And I was only 14 at the time, 14, 15 at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Police chase across how many states?
2.
At how old?
14.
Okay. Just want to make sure everybody that's listening and just like digest that. I was just writing in my book yesterday how I learned how to drive at 13 and 14, but it was not during a police chase. So mad respect. Continue.
Yeah, it was an interesting time, man. It's I was a kid in the streets and I was just following people. I was a follower for a long time. And then I remember at that moment I started saying, wait a minute, if I'm following all these people into this trouble, I might as well do it myself if that's the case. So, and I brought this up to one of my boys I was talking to yesterday because I counsel teenagers now, and I was talking to him the other day, and I was like, at some point in your life, you're gonna realize that you put all this in motion because this is your doing. I'm like, think about it. I'm like, wait a minute. When you get up in the morning and you don't make up your bed, you don't clean your room, and then you come back and you look at it like, oh, now I got to deal with this again. Who started this whole thing? Elmer Fudd? I was like, no, you started this motion. And I was like, and you got to understand that when you're 18 now, if you continue to do this and you get to 48, you're going to look back at yourself and be ashamed and angry and guilty and just completely messed up because you did it. And you didn't start looking at yourself now, but now you're 48 and you're like, shit, I wasted all that time. Because I even look at myself now and some things like my financial situation right now, I'm like, I wasted a lot of time because I didn't take hand of it. I didn't take and put the discipline in it that it deserves.
So here's a question for you, Coach DC, because I hear you. I feel that. I love that. I get it. One of the things that a lot of us do is we let that inner critic start to say, what if, because it's human nature. And I've done that. And it sounds like there's a little bit of that in you. And I catch it a lot in Chris too. Like, what if I did something different, or my mom did this, or, you start dangling there. What can we all do individually and collectively to start the story right now? Because here's something I do believe, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I do believe that we're all perspective points or fractals of source. So we can just say it the way people might be scared to hear it. You're a component of God, period. You're a component of universe creator. So you're made from that image. You're made from a piece of that. So you can start the story now and be a king, or you can go to yesterday and say, why didn't I start earlier? I'll change the question a little bit. How do we teach people right now to start the story being a king today? Even if you don't have all the money, even if you don't have all the background, how do the three of us and everybody else start being a king or queen today?
Scott, you just answered your own question, brother.
Just give me your answer.
You answered your own question like 3 times, and I'm like, okay, this
I hate when that happens. Like what? Where?
And that's one thing I've found, and I'm going to say it this way and I'll explain it later on why I said it this way. Women are good at staying in the past. And they bring up things in the past, they'll live in the past, they'll bring up feelings from the past, and they're good at staying in the past. But we know the secret to that as men, which is I can't do nothing about the past unless I change the right now. I can't do anything about the past unless I change the right now. And if I can't look at the past and say, okay, yeah, I messed up, I need to change this. Like me, for example, I was reading the book, what is the book? Name of the book? The Millionaire Next Door. And on one chapter, I'm stuck on one chapter looking like, this is my chapter where I can just look at myself and say, you're all in the red. You just messed up the whole damn chapter. stop. And I need to go back and say, and start over again, because I know that I'm out of order in that chapter. And I need to get myself in order to get my millions or my dream for the future. And only when we can look at ourselves and see that, okay, so it's me. It's me. I need to look at me. I need to set some discipline in this area of my life. Because in one part of the book, he says, most people put 3 times more effort in their physical fitness than in their financial fitness.
True.
I was like, bro, then that means that's 6 times for me. I am out of order completely. So I'm like, I need to go back and get some order in that completely, because physical fitness, I can do with my eyes closed. Financial fitness, yeah, that's not going to work. And the thing is, we have to be honest with ourselves to see where we're out of order at. That's what I mean by walk your talk.
Walk your talk. Well, you mentioned a word that I love talking about. I was just on an interview yesterday. We were talking about this discipline. You know, when most times we say the word discipline, what's the immediate reaction? Oh shit, what's going to happen? Like, I'm going to discipline you. I'm going to discipline you. But when I think about it, when people ask me about, like, when I did 75 Hard, when I did the 75 Hard program, they said, what did you learn? And I said, I learned the ability to have self-discipline in moments where I did not want to, because I made a promise to myself that said I was going to do this. So the discipline for me was really, again, words have so much meaning depending on what our experience is with those words. So I was like, okay, why does discipline sound so bad? I'm like, no, discipline is actually ownership. It's self-love. It's like putting yourself so far first that you're so sick and tired of that you have to do it, because if you don't do it, you're not going to be excelling in the way that you want to be. What are your perspectives about discipline, and where did you learn the most about discipline in your own journey?
It's funny. I started learning discipline in a gym class in training school, Stonewall Jackson Training School in Concord, North Carolina. And we were just doing like jumping jacks and push-ups and usually all the military drills. And then I found out that the teacher was actually a Vietnam vet named Mr. Perry, and we talked all the time about everything. And I started understanding, if you don't discipline yourself, nobody's going to do it for you. And as far as men go, I'm like, the bad thing that people don't understand about every man is that the savage is still there. The caveman is still there. The dude that will tear your neck off and shit down your throat and then eat it is still there. And people don't get and understand that part about men. So they say, well, men are just hard. Men are just, no. The savage is still there. He still knows how to get nasty and kill when it needs to happen. But now we're in a society where everything is be soft, be nice, be kind. Yeah, that's kind of hard.
I've got a question for you, Coach. Have you heard the book Wild at Heart?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so if you haven't, and this is for Chris too, because I've never mentioned this book on the show.
Wild at Heart?
Yeah, so this book just echoes exactly what you just said. And it's a book for women to read. And I forget what the counter book. There's another book that men should read about women, but Wild at Heart says just that. It says that men want to be vulnerable. We want to be authentic. But like, listen, if you and I, we've never met, Coach. And I'm assuming if you play sports too, we're going to shake each other's hand before the game. Be, what's up, brother? You new here. It's good to see you. Love you, buddy. And then we're going to start playing, and we're going to want to eat each other's soul, and we're going to get in an argument. And then when we leave, we're both going to be like, hey, bro, I like that move you had to the hoop, and you're going to compliment me something. We're going to be cool, but we're going to be a little pissy, and then we'll have a shake, and we're fine. But there's that space that we know the basketball court is our wild at heart. It's our moment to go hunting. It's our moment to attack. And we've learned to take sports, and I don't want you to die. I don't want to hurt you, but I kind of want to eat your soul just a little bit on the court.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. And when we found places to do that, and people think that we're being like beasts, and we're just trying to get that out so we can be everything society wants us to be, and it's not easy.
Exactly. Nobody wants us to be natural anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody wants kids to be natural anymore. Everybody wants you to be this civilized person. And I'm like, the basis of our humanity is our animality. So
say that again.
the basis of our humanity is our animality, of us being animals.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, if you don't put that in some kind of context and understand that each one of us has that, then you're going to get what you have right now, which is a bunch of people going chaotic, having sex everywhere and doing whatever they want to do in the corners. This is what the Bible was talking about, what it was talking about Sodom and Gomorrah, because people have lost their ways. Because if you don't get some civilization in a human being, he's going to be nothing but the animal that he already is. 100%. And that's basically what the book was saying. And yes, we pick these spaces. I mean, MMA, boxing, I mean, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, all these things I've ever done was just expressing my animality in the most civil way possible.
The most allowed way possible without you being a beast. I've used football, basketball, boxing, and without that, I just said to Chris right before you came on and joined us, I said, Chris, I had a lot of work today and I had a training. And so that I didn't lose my mind and come here being an idiot, I just went and played basketball and acted like a jerk to 10 other men. And we hugged each other and I left. And I essentially said, sorry, I was being a complete jerk and I want to kill you, but I'm just kidding. And I'm going to go be a human now. And guys get that. Like, guys get that. Like, that's our release.
Guys get that. But that's the thing. But as guys, this is the one thing we miss about women, which is most of them are shaped by the environment. A lot of them are shaped by the environment and what the environment says. So, CNN says this and it's what it is. ABC says this and my girlfriend says this. That's what it is. Without even thought or even research. Guys, we have that wild side that says, really?
really yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I want to capture Randy's comment right here. He says, love the concept of discipline. I'm a highly motivated desperado, but left to my own devices I will easily wander off the course. I set up my disciplines to try to keep me on track. Good stuff, Coach DC. Absolutely. I want to shift the conversation to think about, when we're talking about walking our talk, which is one of the most important factors in really, when I think about my own life and I think about my own coaching and everything that I've done, congruency has been so important to me. And it wasn't until that I really realized what my huge why was. I mean, Simon Sinek talks about the why, but for me, I realized it on my own. It's like when you have a big enough why, you have a big enough how. Talk to us about your journey, Coach, because I know you've been through a lot of stuff. Talk to us a little bit about that journey and where you realized what your big why really is.
It's funny. I came out and I came out of the juvenile system or the prison system and I started fighting. Because
how old were you?
18, okay. 17, 18. Because I found out that I needed a discipline to put that energy into. And if I didn't have a discipline to put that energy into, I was going to just go off track and wild like usual. So for 10, 12 years, that's what I did. All I did was train and fight. Just put it in there. And then after that, I started training and putting it into bodybuilding for a while. But then I found out how heavy I needed to get for that. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do this. So then I just became a trainer. I started doing a lot of different disciplines, animal flow, yoga, weight training, what is it?
Kettlebells.
Kettlebells, yeah, all of those things.
Not ketamine.
Kettlebells with ketamine. Why not?
Ooh, that's another show.
I just started putting my energy in these different disciplines. And after a while, it's like I was talking to one of my kids a couple of days ago. I showed him some kettlebell tricks that I haven't showed anybody in a while. He was like, well, how do you do that? I was like, easy. If I pick up a tool, I'm going to master the tool. Otherwise, there's no use me picking up the tool, period. So I'm like, if I'm driving my car, I'm the master of the car. So I am going to master driving my car. I'm like, you learn this early in your life that, that's what God is talking about, or what they're talking about in the Bible is talking about becoming it. I was looking up the word religion, and the basis of the word religion means to bind or to bind fast. So you want to bind your spirit to the words of the book. So in binding your spirit to the words of the book, you become the words of the book. Therefore, you exhibit its behavior on every single path in life.
So I like that. And for some reason, when you were explaining that, I had a visual, and I know you because you're a trainer and I've been a trainer in the past too. Remember the first time we grabbed those ropes and you started doing the ropes and doing the flow and you're feeling your shoulders and you're going, oh God, this is for hoops or for boxing because it's going to help me keep my arms up on the speed bag. And you feel it. Like because I remember thinking, if I'm going to do this, this sucks. I'm going to get damn good at it. And I'm going to be able to apply that in a functional way to life. And then like, I'm listening to you with the kettlebells. I'm visualizing the specifics that you're doing with it. So to that point, mastering every piece, Chris and I talk about this in our coaching and talk about brilliance, finding and coming into alignment with your brilliance that's already inside of you. And so one of the things I always share is that you and I, like we're looking at each other as human beings. Chris, we're looking at human beings. We see each other as ash. And underneath is this city of gold. This is gold statue or city of gold. And all we got to do is remove the ash and it's all underneath there. And so many of us are sitting here like you at 14 and you're Chase or me listening to my dad say you're nothing or whatever. You're in this space where you decide that you're not gold, you're just ash because that's all you can see. And we can fix that by just moving that ash off ourselves and seeing the gold. And that's what I hear you saying is you're going to find that perfection. If you're going to try something, you're going to perfect it. You're going to find the gold, the brilliance.
Yes.
How do we get everyone else to do that? Because as a trainer, as a coach, we're constantly saying, do this, do this, do this, and people aren't doing it. How do we get people to do it? Because we want to share this stuff. How do we get them to do it?
That's easy. Actually,
that's a hard question, Scott.
You know my answer, Chris. I've said this a million times. I want to hear someone else's answer.
So I first met this kid, and I don't know if his mom is on here tonight, but I sent her the link. And I first met this kid, and he stumped me right away. He said, sometimes I'm sitting in my room, and I got my computer and all these things all over the place, and it's dirty and trashy, and I know my mom has told me I need to clean it up and all this. And he's like, and I just don't want to do it. But I'm aware in my head that I should do it because, it's my mom says I should do it and all this, but I don't want to do it. And we were walking around the block and, every now and then these kids stump me. And I was just stumped for a second. I was like, that's the perfect position to be in. And he was like, why? I said, because now you get to change that just a little bit. I wanted to see what you're creating. You are a creator. Every single thought that you have, you're creating something. If you follow it along, no matter what you're thinking, you're going to create something. So let's think about this for a second. I said, now, so you're sitting in your room, and there's trashing on the floor. This, your bed's not made, your computer area is all messed up. You got food in your room. You're probably going to have roaches sooner or later. Now,
crusty socks.
Now you're 18. Now think about this. Let's add 20 years to that. Now you're 38. You're sitting in another room. The same situation. You got shit all over the place. Your bed's not made. You got your wrappers on your stuff. So you got ants and rats and roaches and shit. And no girl wants to deal with you. You don't have a family because this is how you decided to live. I said, but this started at 18 when you first recognized it. So you get to create every single moment of every single day. So what are you creating? Are you creating this kind of person that's going to be dirty? Because you're starting at 18, but you can carry this to 38 easily. You can carry this to 50. You can carry this to the rest of your life. So what are you going to tell your kids? What kind of family are you creating? Because this is what parents are supposed to be doing, is helping you to form yourself into a parent yourself. So as a parent, do you want to come home to this every night? It's your choice. After that, he says, you know what? I'm going to think about that for a second. He still hasn't made up his bed.
You know what? It reminds me of what you're talking about, Coach. It reminds me of what Bob Donnell talks about. When it becomes acceptable, it becomes inevitable. And what you're saying really, truly is so inspiring because we really do. And I was talking about this on a show earlier today, I think, or yesterday, is the fact that, sometimes we feel that we are responsible or that is our quote unquote fault for things that have happened to us in our past. And obviously a lot of the stuff that screws us up now happened usually between the ages of 0 and 5, because we were born without the intellect to be able to have the emotional intelligence to process all the shit that was going on when we first were born, because our brains would have been too big to come through the birth canal if we had that emotional intelligence. So that's what forms afterwards. But when you think about the formative years, I think about my son being 5 years old now, and I know that 0 to 5, that conditioning is so massively important that I'm worried about what's going to happen next. But what ultimately we have to remember, and I want to get your opinion on this, as far as going from being a victim, which so many people are, they're a victim to their situations, they're a victim to the beliefs that they have going on in their head, they're a victim to the people that they're around with themselves the most. But what I tell people right now, it's like, it wasn't your fault that situation happened. That was not your fault. Like when I think about my situation of getting beat, by people in the schoolyard, by people on my street, by my mom, when I think about all that abuse, I sat there and I'm like, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. But, and I remember this at the age of 22, I remember it was my fault if I chose to continue to use that as a scapegoat for why I wasn't going to be successful. So at that point, I realized, okay, that happened to me, that happened for me, but now I got to take responsibility. And like you said at the beginning of the show, now I got to walk my walk. Now I got to walk my talk. Now I got to be congruent. Talk to us about what we can do to formulate that path of congruency so that when we're going through our day, like for me personally, when I think about my legacy, I ask myself in the middle of the day, is this getting me closer to or further from my stated goal of fulfilling my legacy? And if I answer myself honestly, then I switch what it is that I'm doing and I change that. So talk to us about how we can switch the level of our belief system about what happened in the past to shift that so it works for us, so we can actually catapult that and walk our talk and be congruent with who we truly are, not who people want us to be. Don't make me repeat that.
It's it's funny that I got all that. That's the interesting part. But
I try.
I was thinking about it this week, and I was listening to the book, The Millionaire Next Door, and then I was just the very next morning I heard my guru say, I think the chapter of his talk was, you got to look at yourself. And I started looking at myself and I was like, okay, so how did you get here again? And how did you get here financially? And I started looking at the moves I was making. I was like, so does that make any sense at all with where you want to go? Like, no. Then maybe you need to make some different decisions. Yeah, that's the choice. And I even told my wife after that, I'm like, I made some damn dumb ass choices. And I'm glad I'm alive long enough to actually change them around a little bit. Because first you have to realize you've made those choices, you've made them, and you got to change it around. And coming to how, I created the Intense Fit Way, which is pretty much my religion, which is my way of walking out life, of my way of managing your mind, our minds, our body, and our breath. And I was looking at it, I was like, so how do you change? And recently, and in the intensive way, I look at every religion. I've been through Christianity, I've been a Muslim, I've been to the Jewish Christian church, I've been through Scientology, I've been through all these different churches. And I was and now I'm studying, I've gone back to the Quran recently. And the one thing I keep telling everybody is like, I'm like, listen, my problem is simple. My problem with belief is simple. Belief about behavior is dead. It's a lie. If there's no behavior behind your belief, you're pretty much just said nothing. Amen. You just spoke a bunch of smoky words, which is rampant in our society right now from the top down. They just speak a bunch of words, but they don't walk them out worth crap. None of them on both sides. Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, whatever you give the name, the LGBT people, all these people, all of them are hypocrites. Every last one of them. Because first you didn't check yourself. Because you started blaming everybody else. And when you start blaming everybody else, but you don't check yourself, you don't do nothing but make yourself a hypocrite. And everybody does it. And that's where we're at right now. It's the land of hypocrisy.
Coach, I've got a great friend, and I'll never forget this, and I know you're going to fully appreciate this. His name is Drew Bixby. He's probably not listening right now, but I'm going to tell him to listen after this because I haven't talked to him in a little bit. He wrote a book called Blame Drew, and his name's Drew Bixby. So again, he's pretty much saying, look closer at yourself. And I'll never forget what he told me. We're driving down the street in Austin, Texas. I'd only been here for a few years. We're working in partnership together. And I look over, I'm like, you know what pissed me off about Austin? I love this city, but look at all the trash on 35, which is the major highway that runs through. And he goes, you see that trash, don't you? I go, yeah. I go, it pisses me off. He goes, so you see it and you're not picking it up. So I don't want to hear it. And I'm like, and I got really upset with him. I'm like, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. But
I love it.
I'm like a 25-year-old kid at the time, whatever. So I'm like, go F yourself. And I remember going home and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, son of a bitch. And so then I'm like, we got to do park cleanups. We're going to do highway cleanups. And in that moment, one lesson from one person that resonated, and my business classes, my motivational speeches, my coaching, all talk about accountability. You cannot you'd be so sick of hearing it. I'm like, but what are you doing about it? Great. There's a problem. What's the solution? Can you impact it? If you can't impact it, what can you do? Can you move on? Is there another thing you can impact? But I just won't take it. And that all started from Drew making me realize that I didn't do this. It pisses me off. So shut up and do something. And I want to share that with the world. I don't know if Drew's book's still out there or whatever, but read Blame Drew. It's all talking about, listen, you may not have created the mess, but if you see the mess and you have an opportunity to fix the mess, then shut the hell up and fix the mess. And even as I'm saying it, it makes me angry. I'm like, well, why are people making the mess? We can do two things at one time. We can pick up the mess and we can find the source of the mess and we can address the mess. We can do it all. I can clean up the trash, go say, who's doing this, figure out how to stop it. You can do all of it. And we give away our power because we look for, well, this person will save me, or this creator will save me, or this group will save me, or I didn't do it. Stop that shit now and do something. So what do we do to get people to follow that? Because that one awakening moment for me was all it took. It took one person saying, you're full of shit. And I'm like, I'm not full of shit. And then I had to fix myself.
It's easy. You've got to tell yourself that you're full of shit.
Yeah, I did. I was like,
you really gotta look under all the rocks, because we had a lot of crap under the rocks. And then we blame other things, and it's pretty much us most of the time. It's not the system. It's not institutional racism. It's not any of these things. It's mostly us most of the time. And if we take the time to look and take the time to have patience, we can overcome. But we don't. Most of the time we cry. I believe in adapting and overcoming. I mean, that's pretty much been my life.
Adapt and overcome. I love it. I want to grab some of these comments, and I have another question for you. The conversation tonight is brilliant, guys. So please share this out. If you think that people can get an impact from this, please. This is an important conversation for us all to be having. I want to go back up to a couple of comments right here. Let's see. I just got to capture this because it's funny in the context I put it. But my daughter is the queen of crusty volleyball socks. LOL.
I saw that.
Yeah, I feel sorry for her girlfriend, but yeah, my son has some sneaky feet. That's not what I was talking about, Megan. I was not talking about crusty socks because it's the unfiltered experience. So I just got to be honest with you. Margaret says, "Wow, thoughts are optional. Choice to act is yours." So, I mean, it's so unbelievable how life is so simple. I've deduced it to this point, and I think about it like AAA, like awareness, right? Acceptance, and then action. Acceptance is the part of where we're at, is like accepting that we're really truly where we're at. Like for me, when I was like borderline becoming an alcoholic, I had to become aware. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm drinking too much, whatever. And then I had to accept, like, okay, yes, this is becoming a problem. And at that point, that acceptance had a branch on it. It was going to be, I'm going to blame my mom. My mom was an alcoholic. She was a drug addict. She was all these different things. Or I was going to accept responsibility and say, you know what? Might these people have, some truth in what it is that they're saying? Maybe I could just, like we talked about it before, and Scott talks about it so eloquently. Can we put the accountability mirror up to ourselves and say, hey, listen, do I have some stuff inside of me? Because we often know that hurt people, of course. And then we often know that we don't like in others what we don't like in ourselves. So being able to put that perspective mirror back up to ourselves and say, hey, listen, this is an opportunity. And I love questions. And I'm going to ask you a question in a second. So when I think about this, what can I learn from this? I think questions are so massively powerful in what we're doing in every moment of the day. So when I'm in a situation where I'm taking something defensively, or I'm reacting to something, I sit there and I say, what can I learn from this? Because I know this is something that's coming from within, and I've become smart enough, I've become astute enough to see that, hanging out with Scott and hanging out with so many beautiful people on that. What are your thoughts in being able to get people out of that mindset of wanting to blame everybody for everything that's happened in their life, and have them to accept that responsibility? The responsibility is not easy. It's going to be challenging, of course, but through that, we all know, every single one of us, all three of us know that when we look back on our life, that we're so grateful for the negative experience, quote unquote, negative experiences that happened, because it made us stronger. We chose to rise above that. The three of us said, you know what, fuck that. I'm not going to do that. That's a situation that happened to me. It happened for me. I'm going to take the strength and the resiliency to make it happen so I can help other people. How do we get people out of that situation in their life where they're just like, oh, I'm so stuck. How do we break people free from that? Are there any exercises or any steps that you would recommend for people that they can do easily today? Because we want to keep it simple. What are some actions that people can take today to get out of that mindset of being a victim and take responsibility for their life?
Well, my it's funny. I'm studying the Quran, so I'm studying Islam and the Muslim culture. And one of the things I've implemented in my day is the prayers, praying 5 times a day. And I've always done prayer differently. So it's usually a quiet time for me, and then it's a reflection time. It's a reflection of how my day went and how I performed during the day. Did I perform up to the standards that I see myself accounting for each day? Was I honest? Was I kind? Was I patient, understanding the other person's perspective or where they're coming from, et cetera, et cetera? Because after a while, you can look at people and understand, and listen to people and understand where they're coming from. And most people are coming from a state of pain. And if you listen to them long enough, you can understand where they're coming from, and you can redirect them in a nice way. But if you don't, you can come back at them as ugly and aggressive at times. And that's one of the things I've learned lately is you got to listen to people. You got to listen to people and understand where they're try to get in their perspective. And once you see their perspective, you can see their fears. And once you can see their fears, you become a whole lot more empathetic as a person and are able to help them along their path. But until you get into their pain, until you can actually set yourself in that place, you're going to miss a lot. And so, like I said, going back to the prayers, so I stop 5 times a day now to just have a moment with myself where I check me. Have I been kind today? Have I been patient today? Have I actually listened today instead of pushing my own perspective on somebody? Have I actually played with my child instead of trying to get her to see things my way? Which is sometimes hard for a hard-headed person like me. So, it's those 5 times a day where I stop now and actually reflect on how I'm doing throughout the day have changed my relationship with my child and my wife. So obviously it's working in some kind of way. But just stopping and take time to look at yourself.
What's really interesting? I just want to share this, and this is neither here nor there. But I'm literally, one of the things I do, I've actually never told Chris this. I've never said it out loud, but I'm going to say it right now, is sometimes I'll just stare at the guest and watch their energy. And I'm listening to you, but I'm watching your energy, and your energy completely shifted when you talked about your prayer moment. I could literally see your energy. Now somebody has to go back and watch this and see if you see what I see. But I literally could see your energy shift. Like I could tell you actually dialed into the moment where you're going there. And your energy shifted. It was really cool to watch, because I'm the same way, where when I'm speaking about what I'm passionate about or what works for me or what heals me, I mean, you might hear it out loud, but it literally shifts in your being. You can see it's evident.
You actually move back to that position.
Which is badass, because you're actually going in that meditative state, that prayer state, and it's cool. And so it's real. So thank you for sharing that, because it's badass to watch it. You're not just saying it. You're doing what you just said you want others to do. You're walking the walk and expressing it. And your path doesn't need to be everybody's path, but your path is true. And that's beautiful.
Exactly.
And you're being truly in the moment. I mean, that's one of the things that is so powerful, is that so many times egotistically we're in, okay, what am I going to get out of this interview? You're just being here. And that's the beautiful thing, is that's what we set up. That's what we set up the show to be, is just to be here and just to be authentic, because the more that we're transparent, any of us, some of the people, I get people tell me all the time, like, Chris, you have it figured out. You're always so energetic. You're so positive. I wish I could be like you. I'm like, you have no idea what goes on in my brain. And I'll tell them, like, you have no idea how many conversations I have a day to keep myself uplifted and to keep myself motivated, because I know it's all happening for a reason. It's not perfection, ladies and gentlemen. This is the moment by moment situation where you have to implement the tools, and you have to go back and watch and listen. I listen to audiobooks all the time. I'm constantly learning and trying to create the next best version of myself. I want to capture a couple of comments here, and then that's a beautiful point. That is such a beautiful point, and you are making an impact tonight. I can tell, because we got Mary Case is in here. She goes, new mantra: address the mess. Absolutely, address the mess. Absolutely. Once you address the mess, it's so funny. We're always running from our fears. We're always running from what's uncomfortable. But the minute that we stop, literally the minute we stop mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and we say, you know what, I'm not gonna fucking do this anymore. I'm not. The pain versus pleasure situation that Tony Robbins talks about, the fact that leverage comes into play, and we will make the shifts when the leverage is heavy enough for ourselves. One of the things that I think about, I'm going to ask you this in a second before I grab some more comments, is how can we place that leverage upon ourselves to be able to make that change? Don't answer that yet. Samuel Sneed's in the house. What's up, Samuel? He says, if you don't lead yourself, you will never earn the right to lead others. Yes, even your own kids. So powerful. Thank you, Samuel. Yes. That if anybody gets anything out of this tonight, and I'm becoming so much more passionate about this, whether you have kids that are 20, 30 or 10 or 5 or 2, please, for God's sakes, people, let's make this about them. Let's truly make what's going to be the world for the future. Let's make this about them. Let's not make this about the bipartisan bullshit and all this other crap that we've got going on in the world. Please. Megan says here, facts, especially our kids. If there is anyone who will poke holes and see through anyone, is it's kids. It's so true, because they're blank slates. They will sit there. My son tells me stuff, and I just laugh, and I'm like, I love your honesty. I said, never change that. We don't blanket that. We don't censor it. He swears sometimes. He actually asked my wife the other day, goes, Mommy, I have to say a bad word, but I want to ask you a question. He's not even 5 yet. And she told me this the other day. It was beautiful. She goes, oh, he asked me, he goes, why does everybody have to say shit so much? And I was like, I'm like, okay, so I'm not the only one saying it. My wife's not the only one saying it. Who else is saying this? Because they gave me shit the other day because I gave them a fucking there. I won't even go into that. The daycare center got mad at me because there was some words on his mask that they didn't agree with. And I was like, oh, fuck off. I didn't say that out loud. I smiled and said, okay, I won't give him that anymore. Megan says, I wish I still had the watch part feature. I must have missed that part. Sorry about that. And Margaret says here, love AAA. Absolutely. We're not talking about AAA because Auto Club sucks. I have a beef with them. So yes, awareness, action, and awareness, acceptance, and action is so beautiful because it's so simple in what we do to take responsibility for our life. Samuel says here, crystal clear, like umpires calling you out. And what's the important? Let's talk about that for a second before I take some more comments, because that's so important. And Scott and I talk about this. What are your thoughts about having a team on your side that you can count on to help propel you to the person that you're supposed to be?
Ooh, a team?
Got to have a team.
Okay, if you have a team, then that means you really have to be a team, which means you really have to get to know each other. You really have to talk and be honest with each other in that case. And only in that case, then can you look at each other and say, you're full of it then. You know you ain't right here. And you can actually come at it in a playful way, and the person will look at themselves and say, I'm not being my authentic self. I'm not actually putting my complete self forward here. I'm actually, shying away because of this or that. And that's one of the things that we don't understand most of the time. I think people don't get it, is that we're constantly responding to life in these situations. And your response is the most important part of it, because your response or your choice, like Scott said before, is like a path. So your response to this certain situation can be a choice that you make for the next 10 years and can take you on a complete different path in your life than where you thought you were going. And most people don't get that. Go ahead, Scott.
No, you're right on point. And one of the things to break down, just to make it easier to think about, because you nailed the most important part of the team, Chris and I think, anyways, that accountability piece. But we have a good friend. His name is Randy Pierce. He's a blind gentleman who went blind at 22 years of age. He's over 50 now. He's climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, run Boston Marathon like 20 times. The guy's just a beast. You would love him. Wild at heart, yet the most compassionate, beautiful, empathetic human you can know. He created an acronym for team, and it's have somebody you can trust, have somebody who energizes, empowers you, have somebody who holds you accountable, and have mentors. And the piece there is the trust piece is beautiful, because sometimes we feel like we're batshit crazy and we just want to say something and have our friend that's not going to go say, hey, Scott, I think you lost it. And they're going to be there.
Scott and I do this all the time.
Yeah. Like I'm not going to tell you who Chris really is, because, I love the guy. I don't want you to know. And he's vice versa. He's not going to do that to me. All jokes aside, but it's good to have that person. And then that person who, no matter what you say, says, listen, you're a fractal of source. You can do this, that empower. And then the hardcore piece of accountability, that person who calls you out and says, you've said this 15 times, you've never taken action. Don't keep telling me this, you're full of shit. And then the other one that I love, and we don't give it enough credence, is mentor, because we all talk about getting out of where we were. You're 14 and you're in a police station chasing. You don't want to be there anymore. You're 18 and you're in the system. You want to get to the next step. You're sitting at home and things are fine, and you're talking to your wife and you're not talking how you want to, and you want to elevate. Those are the spaces where we move a little bit and we raise our frequency. We step up our vibration. One of the most beautiful ways to make that happen is have mentors and people who are a vibration or frequency higher. And when we associate with them, that energy that flows into us. So when we see somebody who's there, we're like, what am I doing different than them, or what am I not doing yet? And so that whole team, when you really dial into that team, is insanely powerful. And it took me a while to process it, because, Coach, you might be similar to me. I'm going to do it on my own because I'm a badass and I'm a man. And we all do it. And then one day we say, I'm just a man. I'm just doing my best.
You know what? I call that individual Americanism right there.
Yeah.
And we all get a piece of it, and it's pretty much a misunderstanding, because we all say, well, I'm an individual. No, you're not. You got a brother, you got a sister, you got a cousin, you got a wife, you got a son, you got a daughter, you got somebody that you influence every single day. You're not an individual. Stop it. Somebody influences you every single day. You're not an individual. Stop it. And until you understand that, you cannot be a team player. There are no individuals. We're all sending and receiving stations at all times. That's what the mind does.
Oh yeah.
At all times. And until we get that, we can't grow until we get that.
Let's just
we
keep
can't
clapping.
grow until we get that.
You bring brilliance to the table. You're a fractal of source, but so is everybody else. And the beauty of your brilliance comes in the teamwork. Think of this. Let's just make this up. Let's say we're all playing basketball together. Let's say I'm the best point guard of the face of the earth. Can I play the game by myself? No. But what if you can shoot and Chris can rebound, and suddenly we're in flow together and it becomes a dance? That's 5 people. What happens when we connect to the universe and we drop our brilliance in? And every time we connect with somebody, we ask questions. What can I do to serve you? How can we serve one another? That's where the brilliance gets activated. It's not in this, I'm a badass individually. It's, I recognize source in me and I'm going to share the shit out of that. That's where teamwork comes in.
Exactly. It's like Jordan Peterson rule number 9. No matter who we talking to, we can always learn from that person. There's always something there that we can learn from that person. And I'm like, and that's the thing with me. I'm like, and my wife will get on me. She's like, well, you're spending time, you're watching this TV show. And I'm like, dude, I put a whole podcast together off this TV show. What you talking about? The whole thing they were talking about, I put it in real life and put a whole podcast together off of that one TV show. So
you're studying, you're learning, you're growing, you're like you're observing that stuff.
100%.
All times. It doesn't matter what I'm doing.
I just love you call your wife dude. I say that so many times. It's so much funny. Like, why do you call your wife dude?
I call everybody dude. People are dudes.
They're dudes. I mean, sometimes I feel bad if I call. Yeah. Anyways, Megan says, "Boom, reflection, check in. I need to do better about that. Thank you. I just added that to my whiteboard." Thank you so much, Megan, for being here and sharing your brilliance with us. Jamar says, that's good practice. Stop 5 times a day to have a moment with yourself. Jamar, thank you so much for being here. Well, wait a minute.
Jamar is actually my cousin.
I was going to say, I see a last name here that makes sense. Thank you so much, Jamar, for being here. Let's see, Raquel here, my sister from another mister I got to meet here in California. She says, the beauty is found on the other side of healing. Yes, it is messy and uncomfortable and worth it. Been there, leaving a legacy for healing for my children and generations beyond. That's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I wake up every single day and I have the intention and the power to impact the world and to be a better dad and to be a better person, because I know that any moment in time that I could go, and I want to make sure that my son knows that I was always congruent with my dreams and my passions and everything that I wanted to work for. So yes, thank you, Raquel. Thank you. I'm sorry it took you like 2 days to get home, but I'm glad you got home. I gotta highlight this one for a second. Shit is the exclamation point. Yes, you're in the right place, Megan. Thank you. If that disturbs you, please turn off the channel and don't watch us anymore. But yes, shit is the exclamation point. Margaret says here again, amen. I use stop, drop, in, and breathe. I mean, it's so, I mean, again, going back to the simplicity of life, you know, when I have stressful moments, and my son reminded me of this not too long ago, we were in traffic and I was trying to get him to a haircut. Long story short, I was being like reactionary. I was like, what the fuck? You know, the Waze kept telling me 17 different directions. I was like getting on the wrong thing and I was so mad. And we finally get to the place, the parking sucked, and I'm trying to get him a haircut. And he's like, Dad, remember your breathing. He's not even 4 years old, because I've been teaching him this. I'm like, it's like, son, anytime that we get frustrated, anytime we want to react, just stop. I said, we just do 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out.
You know, the funny thing about that is
we just do it 4.
The funny thing about that is that's how I wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
I do box breathing, 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, hold for 4 seconds for the first 10 minutes of the morning. So there's no thought in my head. All I get to do is just breathe and enjoy myself for the moment.
And sources breath, so you're breathing in that which created you and becoming it. You can't fail. I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Exactly. It's all about setting that intention. Samuel says here, you have to be willing to tell each other the truth, and you have to be willing to hear it when it comes, or there is no lasting team. So true, Samuel. So true. I mean, I've had so many situations in my life personally where I've said, please tell me the truth. Please tell me the truth. I want to know if I'm fucking up. I want to know if I'm screwing you up. I want to know if I'm not meeting your expectations. And so many people won't tell you the truth, but they'll talk behind your back and they'll sit there and say shit. And it's like, so Samuel, thank you for that, because, you know, the truth hurts, but the truth is what causes us to grow. And then we can either sit there and say, oh, well, you're just being an asshole and just go back into victim mode. Or we can sit there. And for me, I sit there and go, is there some truth in that? And I've had situations in my life that I could talk about that where I was like, no, that's not true. And I'm like, there is a little bit of truth in that. When we do that, when we recognize it, it's amazing the growth that can come from that. It is amazing. So thank you, Samuel, for saying that. Box breathing works. What was that? Who else was that? Who else held for 4 seconds? Not sure what that is about.
4 seconds of breathing. Hold. I think you just make a joke on top of it.
But I think it was so beautiful that my son literally gets out of the car and he's like, Dad, remember your breathing. And I'm like, and I really want to tell him, like, come on, let's hurry. And I'm like, you know what? He's making a point right now. So we stopped there in the parking lot and we did our 4s. And he was like, you feel better, Dad? I'm like, yeah, come on, let's go. And we walked in there. He got his haircut. Everything was cool. And I walked back out in the parking lot. I gave him a big hug. I got down on his level. I'm like, dude, thank you. I said, that's what this is about. This is about when we get in a moment where we're feeling anxious or we're feeling reactionary, we're feeling the fight or flight. We just got to stop, take a couple of breaths, ask ourselves, will this matter in 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 years, or whatever it is, and then move on and ask ourselves really the question, why am I taking this personally, and be able to respond to that and change the outcome of what it is that we're doing. So, guys, we've been talking for 59 minutes, for an hour. I knew that this conversation was going to fly. So, Coach, final thoughts on the conversation. What do you want to leave people really understanding and knowing, and what they can do to change the trajectory of where they're at right now?
Final thought goes simply like this. In America, we have everything, but we don't have ourselves. We have all of this stuff, but we don't manage our basic selves at all. We don't manage our fitness. We don't manage our minds. We don't manage our money. We don't manage our time. We don't manage ourselves at all. But we have all this stuff, which is the basic imbalance of America, which is what it is. So we're depending on all this stuff, but we haven't managed ourselves, which means we've made ourselves slaves to the stuff. And we're the creators of the stuff. It's like, the cars, the money, all these things are simply our tools that we created to use one way or the other. But now we've gotten so unconscious and so consumeristic that these things have actually made us slaves to them. The creation has become the master. And we created them. And nobody gets that part. So I always think it back to start managing yourself first. I always start with managing your breath, manage your mind, manage your own thoughts, manage your own money. It's yours. It's just like your breath. It goes in and out. Manage your time. That's all life is made up of, is time. Learn to manage yourself. And that's what I do. I teach people to manage themselves. This is Coach. Peace.
Beautiful, beautiful, Coach. We're going to definitely have you back. You want to have him back on the show, Scott?
All right, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah,
of course I do. We have a lot more to talk about. I'm always a jerk.
Now, I've been talking to Coach literally every week on Clubhouse, and I'm so excited when you show up, dude. Seriously, I am. I learn from you. I learn from everybody in the room. So thank you so much for being here on the show. I can't wait to have more conversations with you. Where can people get a hold of you? Where can they continue the conversation with you? Your website, your Instagram, what's going on?
Okay, so you can catch me here on YouTube at Coach DC, or my fitness page is called Intense Fitness and Boxing. Facebook, I am Damion Caldwell or Intense Fitness and Boxing. Instagram is Coach DC or Intense Fitness and Boxing, or either one. I'm around anyway. Coach DC, you will find me somewhere. There you
will.
All those places.
You will. all these places, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Such a great show. Margaret says here, thanks. Great show. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Mary Kay says there is a lot of you in stuff. Don't forget about you. Absolutely. Angel is in the house. She says, got here late, going back to replay. You will enjoy the show. Angel, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. All right, Coach, I'm going to place you backstage. Don't go anywhere. Go back in the green room. Have a sip. Don't go anywhere. Scott and I are going to talk to you just in a second. We're going to finish out the show. But thank you, brother, for so much for being here tonight. It's been a wealth of conversation. It's been a wealth of information. And just love you, brother. So don't go anywhere. Whew, there we are. We're going to go over a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. So hang with us. But Scott, final thoughts. What do you think about the conversation we've had tonight? Because it's been super powerful for me. I know that.
I love Coach DC. He resonates with me huge because I just know that he gets me and I get him, because he's one of these people who gets that wild at heart thing, understands the whole idea that people have lost their hearts and people are trying to figure out where to place that energy, being human, men in specific in that conversation, but all of us. I'm going to end off of one simple thing. I never do this. I'm going to share a poem, and I don't share poems often. For some strange reason, we learned a poem by Wadsworth Longfellow years ago in high school. And I remember the first stanza, and it always stuck with me. And I didn't totally get what it means. And in my 30s, 40s, and now in my 50s, I fully get what it means. And it's exactly what Coach DC was saying. And it goes like this. It's called "The World is Too Much With Us." The world is too much with us, late and soon, getting and spending. We lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature that is ours. We have given our hearts away, a sordid boon. The world was created by us. We are the creator. It was created in our hearts, and we started living in our minds and chasing and consumerism. And I need this and I need that. And collectively, we're waking up and we're coming back in and realizing all the answers are right here. And Coach DC gets it. Let's walk the walk. Let's look inside. All the answers are within. If you pray daily to reconnect, if you meditate daily to reconnect, if you do some deep breathing to connect with source, get on it and know the answers are all inside of you. That's all I got.
Boom. Scott David Goyette. Thank you very much. Where can people get in touch with you? I know we have it on our stuff, but I know you got a lot of stuff going on. Where can people get in touch with you?
Oh, yeah. They can still do scottgoyette.com. It's the easiest place.
scottgoyette.com. Go check them out.
Carrier Pigeon. I've been working with Carrier Pigeon a lot lately as well.
Oh, nice. But you got group coaching going on. You got a lot of stuff going on. So go check out his website. Please, please, please. Scott and I are a team here, and we bring this to you every single week because not only do we learn something, but we really, really, like I said at the top of the show, we want you to walk away with at least one. I mean, I could count probably 10 nuggets that we talked about tonight, literally 10 nuggets. Just walk away with one that you can make the promise to yourself, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that you can make it the promise to yourself to start changing tonight or tomorrow. When you accept responsibility for where it is that you are at, when you decide that you are not going to play the blame game anymore, you're not going to play the someday game anymore, that you're going to realize that every action that you take, every decision that you take, every person that you surround yourself with will ultimately lead you to a journey and a destination based on those people that you surround yourself and based on the decisions that you make. When you get out of that victim mindset and when you start to take responsibility for walking that talk and being congruent and really identifying what it is that you want to be, who it is that you want to be during the day, what it is that you want to accomplish, and ultimately, what is your legacy? What is your legacy? You got to think about life as a roadmap. And I know, Scott, you agree with this. We have to look at this as a roadmap. What is the destination? What is the ultimate impact that we're going to make? I just heard a statistic the other day that blew my mind that said, I can't remember how many people, it was like 60% of people today, the new generation, do not know who Michael Jackson is. And I was like,
holy shit.
I was like, what the fuck? Like our generation, of course, is going to know who Michael Jackson is, but the new generation, like who, what? Wasn't he the pedophile? When you think about the opportunity for us and what we do every single day, we are building a legacy, ladies and gentlemen. We are building a legacy with everything that we're doing, with everything that we're showing, especially if you have kids, whether the kids are 2 years old, 5 years old, 20 years old, whatever it might be. We have a responsibility and I guess a project, I guess, if I'm being honest, for each and every one of us to sit there and look from within ourselves, to start healing ourselves, to start having empathy and forgiveness for the people who wronged us in our life, and to be able to heal and start giving self-love and self-importance to ourselves, start taking care of ourselves a little bit better. Because ultimately, when I've talked to people this week, Scott, it's been mind-blowing. I'm like, who do you love the most? And they'll tell me, I'm like, how much do you want to give them, like, your best? And like, everybody says 100%. I'm like, so let me ask you, what are you giving yourself? And so many people just sat there like, oh shit. I'm like, yeah, it's not being selfish, ladies and gentlemen. It's pouring into yourself. It's pouring into yourself to be able to become stronger, to become more aware, to set the example for your kids. If you're in a shitty relationship and you're showing your kids, this is what you do. You tolerate a shitty relationship. Do you sincerely want to do that? Ultimately, when you wake up in the morning, you should be excited about what you get to do, where you're going, the passion that you're having for it. And when you're done with that, you should be excited about where you're going and who you're spending your time with. And if you can't answer those questions that you're honestly excited about either one of those, you have to take responsibility starting today, starting tomorrow, and say, what am I going to start doing differently? What responsibility am I going to take to start changing the trajectory of my life? And we've talked about the nuggets in the show tonight. So if you didn't get them, go back and watch the show again. Go back and watch it, take a couple of notes, and start putting that shit into action, because the compound interest will pay off. I'm living example. Scott's living example. Right. Coach DC is living example. We've all come from super, super adversarial situations, and we're living here today. We've taken our trash and we made it our treasure, and we want you guys to do the same, please. So if you're struggling, if you have situations, reach out to Scott and myself, reach out to Coach DC. We're here for you. This is why we do this. This is no joke. This is a safe space. We want you guys to know that there's somebody here for you every single moment of every single day. We love and care for you. We appreciate you guys being here, whether live or on the replay. Go to the unfilteredexperience.com. Make sure you're part of the Facebook group. We got a lot of exciting stuff coming up in 2022 to help you continue to move yourself along, whether it's training programs, whether it's continuing the shows that we're going to be doing here. We want to hear from you. What do you want to see in 2022? We love each and every one of you. Yeah, we're going to go back and check out some of these comments right now, but I know that I have to go to trunk or treat with my son. So
yeah, I can do the same. I got to get my daughter off to a party. So
I love you, brother. I love you.
Scary stuff right here.
I love you, brother, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for all the shit you taught me about love and fear and everything else. And go love now. I was actually, I got to tell you the story real quick. So I was wearing your glove. Are you wearing my bracelet?
So here's the. No, I don't have any
Dick.
bracelets on right now. But
No,
hold
you're
on.
not.
But hold on. I gave Jessica one, and I gave Laura one. I wore them in Boston to the bar that we went to. I never wear anything when I go out.
Okay. But I was just saying, I was in a restaurant the other day and she saw my bracelet. She goes, "Go Love Now." I love that. And I said, it was all my idea. No, I'm just kidding. I said, go check out Scott Goyette.
Take the idea. Who cares whose idea?
I said, no.
Idea.
No, I was like, no, you got to all go love now. We all have to go love now on ourselves. We have to go love now on ourselves. So thank you guys for all of you being here. I'm going to go back and comment on all these comments. So love you guys. Go out there and have an impactful weekend. Go out there and make amazing moments. Be in the moment. Be invested in where you're at and what you're doing. And obviously, always continue to strive for becoming a better person tomorrow. We love you guys. The Unfiltered Experience. Peace out. Have a great week.